Hey guys, this is HotNoob here, and this is PHP tutorial number 10. In this tutorial, I'm going to be going over MySQL's security features and pretty much how to keep your server from getting hacked. I'm going to start off by going to the code from tutorial 9, which is right in front of me here, or whatever. And I'm just going to go over some things and point out some stuff, and then I'm just going to continue on with securing inputs from the users and a bunch of other things like that. So yeah, you sort of may be wondering why I put everything in the global variables and why I didn't just use constants or something like that, something more lightweight. The reason for being is, well, one, I think globals look better than constants. And two, as you can see here, well, you might not have noticed it, but when you're saying $globals MySQLi, it is replacing the array here, which contains the configuration data for MySQLi, or the connection info, and it's replacing it with the MySQLi object or handle. So if I were to go var dump, or let's just go echo $globals MySQLi, and then say we want to output the host later on, or someone tries to steal your connection information. Go and go here, and it should output an error, right? Because this object is no longer an array. It doesn't even contain the value now anymore because we get rid of it. That's just a little thing you should sort of keep in mind. Although, you know, once someone gets access to your PHP code to the point where they can actually get these variables, you're pretty much screwed. So yeah, I know, it's just a little minor precaution. Anyways, moving on, I'm going to continue on with this sort of function a little bit here. I'm going to say assign results equals ta-da, and then return. It looks a bit more inefficient, but I'll show you why I've done this. So what I'm going to be adding on here is just a little addition, which is if not $results, and then I'm going to make it exit with an error message. So what I'm doing here is, if the results or the query was not properly executed, like if there's a syntax error or whatever, and it will return false, in which case it would be returning true here in this if statement, and then we'd output some sort of error, like error MySQL error, just some basic error handling there. And yeah, so then you don't actually have to check the results and whatnot, but you still need to check if it does return results. It only returns false if there's like a syntax error or some sort of connection error, or just, you know, something like that. Yeah. So the usage stays the same, and it just errors out this way if there is an issue. Okay. So anyways, I'm gonna start by showing you guys an example of an SQL injection, and then I'm going to show you guys how to counter it. So let's first say this is sort of bad habit, but according to people like Google and whatnot, the people who sort of do micromanagement, or sorry, micro optimization, or whatever you want to call it, they state that you shouldn't do stupid things like saying a $username equals $get you or username. Instead, you should just use the get variables in the array. But just to make it a bit more friendly, I'm going to use it in this manner. So anyways, I'm going to change this to select username and password from users, where username equals yeah, okay, and then I'm just going to change this to an if, and let's put in a limit 1. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to refresh this page. It's going to say failed to find user. I'm going to add in another little feature here, or a little option, and say if. This is just to get rid of the error message, not is set. Sign get you. I'm going to make it exit with an, well, custom error message, sort of. Username needs to be specified. There we are. Okay, so I'm just going to put in a get variable here. So $u equals, what do we have? My username, I think. There we go. So let's say we didn't know the input value, or we wanted to get something else. Let's just make it sort of so there's more motivation. And let's say we didn't know the username, but we wanted to somehow get the password, in which case or 1 equals like that. Should do it. Yep. So what's happening here is, let me output the query. Let's go here. So you guys can sort of see what's happening. What's happening is it's changing the query to select username password from users, where username equals blank or 1 equals 1. Simple as that. Sorry, I've got a bit of a cough. So anyways, you might be wondering, how do we prevent this? Well, you can attempt to use some crummy little function like strip tags, but I'm going to be showing you guys how to do this properly. I'm going to start off by creating a new function, and I'm going to be showing you guys a sort of older way of doing this, but you don't really need to do it this way in the newer versions of PHP, so you'll see what I mean. So MySQL escape, and then let's just keep it simple for now. So variable, and then turn var, and I'm going to change this up a little bit here. So $sign globals, MySQLi, and then escape string. Pretty sure that's what it is. I'm just going to flip over to PHP manual here. MySQLi escape. Here we are. Yep, so it's escape string, which is sort of the equivalent to MySQL real escape string. And since MySQL, or the MySQL extension, is getting depreciated, I'm going to be using the escape string, which is part of MySQLi. You can also use the procedural version, which is MySQL real escape, MySQLi real escape string, and then you'd put in the link. Pretty sure that's how it works. Yeah. Which would be, in this case, globals MySQLi. I don't do this very often because I just usually make a function for this, so $sign var, whatever, and then $sign var would equal that, or in this case we'd return it. Anyways, moving on. So what we need to do now is check for if the server has magic quotes enabled. This is a feature that is being removed from PHP, but it still sort of needs to be added into your code because not everyone has the most up-to-date PHP server or PHP version. So I'm just gonna Google it quickly because I can never remember the name of it. So PHP get magic quotes. Well, there's the name of it right there. So if get magic quotes GPC, and what we want to do is we want to sort of reverse the magic quotes. So $sign var equals strip slashes $sign var, and yeah, an alternative to this is to just never have magic quotes enabled, and tell people to not enable magic quotes. but yeah, it's sort of something that you can't really evade or get around, because not everyone's going to listen to the not enable magic quotes, and sometimes people won't even have the option to disable magic quotes, so you sort of have to keep that check in. And because calling that function every time you want to escape something can be a bit extensive, what you can do is put it into a variable, magic quotes. You can use constants, I think, but I'm just going to use global for now. Magic quotes. Yeah. So something like that. If you do, it's probably better if you have this in a class or something. That way you're not getting too much overhead with it. So you'd put this equals and whatnot in the constructor. Okay, moving on. Let's go to the defenses here. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this to MySQL escape. And then we're going to go back here. Oopsies. Not bad. Gotta connect first. Here we are. So now we get the failed to find user because it's been escaped, and as you can see there are these slashes added in so that the value cannot get injected, or so you can't pull off a MySQL injection. And that's sort of the basis to it, but let's say you wanted to use a number, then you can use something a bit more lightweight. So let's say select so-and-so where ID equals 1 or something, or assign ID. In which case, you don't need to use MySQL escape. You can just use int_val, which converts it into an integer, and I'll show you sort of how it works. So, what did I put it? ID? Yeah. So, ID equals 1. Where ID, so let's say we try to put an injection into it. So, or 1 equals that, and rather than executing that, it just returns 0 because it's not a valid number. Simple as that. And you can even use this sort of to detect SQL injections or whatnot. A really lightweight version, which is basically if not $ID sorry, exit MySQL injection detected. Ta-da! Well, what MySQL, or in the newer versions of MySQL, it starts at the auto increments start at 1 instead of 0, so you should never have a value that is 0, but you never know. May screw up. It's not the most user-friendly way of doing things, but it's sort of the most secure. Of course, you can't really get past that inval, so it's sort of pointless to put that message up. So yeah, that's pretty much it for security. Security. There really isn't much to it. It's basically just make sure you escape all of your variables. You can make functions that make it a lot easier to escape the variables, and just don't be lazy. Another option is to use the MySQL prepare statements or PDO or something like that, but I personally don't like using them. Anyways, this is Hot Noob here, and you guys can come check out my blog at hotnoob.com.